Well, the world is marking a grim 6-month anniversary. Back in April, Boko Haram militants raided a boarding school in the northeast Nigerian town of Chibok and abducted approximately 270 schoolgirls. It shocked and outraged the world. Well, 6 months later, a handful of the girls have escaped, but the Nigerian government, aided by other nations, including the United States, have not been able to rescue the girls. Many have given up hope. Meanwhile, U.S. National Security Advisor Susan Rice released a statement today pledging continued American support. Arise NewsHour anchor Charles Aniagolu traveled to Borno State shortly after the abductions to speak exclusively with some of the girls who managed to escape and their parents, along with school and community leaders there. I spoke with him earlier today about an update. Charles, I think the first question that has to be asked is, does the government know where these girls are and what has become of them in these last 6 months?
Well, Debbie, that's a very good question, and that clearly is the central question, because despite all the promises and 6 months having expired, all we know for sure is that there have been lots of promises and plenty of rumors, but nothing concrete coming out of Nigeria. If you recall, the government said about 6 months ago that it knew where the girls were, that it was holding its horses, that it didn't want to go in because that could obviously create a problem in terms of the safety of the girls. But, I mean, we've been hearing that ever since, and you can imagine the agony of the families, because having spoken to some of them, the sense they get is that, you know, they keep getting these promises but nothing concrete.
And you led me right to one of the questions I wanted to ask you, so let's go there now. I know that you met many of these parents of the missing girls, I'm assuming formed relationships. As you've maintained contact with them, what is their mindset? I imagine they have to be frustrated and perhaps even desperate at this point.
Well, I'll give you an example. One of the leaders of Chibok was speaking just earlier today in an interview, and he said that some of the families, some of the mothers and parents of the children had lost their minds, literally. Some have died, some have got very sick as a result of all of this. Obviously, there's no scientific, sort of evidence to suggest that this is exactly what happened. But I mean, the important thing that we can glean from that is that this is having an absolutely terrible effect on those families and on the people of Chibok.
The sad reality is the attention of the world really has moved on with other big news items, whether it's the crisis in Ukraine or Ebola or ISIS. But how much news are these missing girls still getting in Nigeria? How much attention is still being paid?
Well, the Bring Back Our Girls campaign is still fairly prominent. I mean, they appear from time to time on television, they're in the newspapers and so on. But I would say that the general populace, to some extent, has moved on. And I suppose the other cautionary sort of note that's coming out of this is that the Nigerian government is keen to emphasize that the Chibok girls may have garnered the most publicity, but they're not the only people who've been kidnapped. There are about 300 in total girls who are missing from northeast Nigeria. And what the government is keen to emphasize is that they're working not just on the Chibok girls, but on all the people who've gone missing.
Yeah, you raise a very good point. There's been a lot of violence. We were reporting it almost daily 4, 5, 6 months ago, but even here at Arise, we've moved on to other things. Give us an update on the violence and the activities at the hands of Boko Haram, particularly in northern Nigeria.
Well, as you may know, Debbie, the Boko Haram have come up with a new strategy where they've been basically going for territory rather than their usual sort of ad hoc attacks. So what they've done is to basically go out there and try to overrun territories, sort of imitating Islamic State in Syria and Iraq. And that, to some extent, according to the Nigerian government, has been their undoing, because the Nigerian army is very well known for being very good at conventional warfare. So the government's laid in on them, and apparently it's come up with reports that they've killed the leader of Boko Haram, Abubakar Shekau, although the Boko Haram have denied that, and say they're now planning major offensives against the group. So from that point of view, it does seem as if the government is, for now, gaining the upper hand.
Presidential election is coming up, Charles, in the last minute that we have. How much pressure is Goodluck Jonathan under to do something about these missing girls or be in danger of not being reelected?
Well, I think from the point of view of Nigerians, it's not just the missing girls, although they're the ones who've garnered the most international press. It is about the insurgency as a whole and trying to sort of arrest it. And I think there is no question that it will come up in the elections, and that if Jonathan is not able to do something that would come across to people as having taken charge of this, then it may, quite easily lead to his undoing.
All right, Charles Aniagolu, of course, you led in covering this tragedy, and it sadly is still going on. Thank you so much for the update, my friend.
Thank you, Debbie.
This is Arise America.